As a salesperson, I'm really happy this year to actually show real imagery of endless surf. For a salesperson, it's always hard to sell using designs. And even if the company had a long track record, I understand that all the developers that you guys are needed a proof of concept. So first of all, thank you to Mickey. Mickey is here. Mickey that made that great presentation on Munich yesterday. So our first ever client for endless surf. Thank you. And I think Mohamed is right here. So soon to be open, fully built, and we are about to travel there end of the year, early next year to get actually it commissioned. So thank you, because thanks to you guys, and especially Mickey, we have now imagery. So quick reminder on endless surf before we see some of the imagery. We were last to the market, and Aaron was clear that it takes a lot of time to go to market, to develop the product, and for you guys, it takes a lot of time too to develop the project. But when we designed the product, Wave Garden had 2 to 3 facilities up and running. We obviously had the American Wave Machine in Waco. Kelly was out there. And Surflock had a test facility. So we saw what the market was doing, and there were a lot of good stuff. And we tried to blend everything into endless surf so that we could have high capacity. We could have quality waves, fun waves, variety in waves, and a super compact footprint, because we know how much land costs. So we tried to reduce the footprint of the lagoon. So that's basically how the engineering team was briefed to deliver endless surf. As you all know, we belong to Whitewater, this huge 42 plus years of experience company in the attraction world. And I think where they challenged us the most was not so much what's happening in the lagoon, because even if they had built a lot of wave parks, they weren't really surf parks, to be honest. But what they knew is that an attraction has to be as compact as possible to enable a lot of real estate all around the lagoon. So that's really where I think the contribution of Whitewater was great, because it pushed us into making this thing very efficient, very compact, so that we can value the real estate all around. So in the surf experience and what happens in the lagoon, we've always been focused on how this asset that you're about to purchase and spend anything from 50 to 150 million for the overall project, how this asset will support your business for 15, 20, 25 years. So we've always looked at endless surf as how can the operations in the lagoon adapt to new consumers, to maybe a competing surf parks down the road. So we knew that endless surf had to address the beginners, the pro surfers, etc., etc. We knew that endless surf had also to address the high demand markets from time to time. But we also wanted endless surf to be in a position to adapt for those slower days where you're only using part of the lagoon, not all the lagoon, and maybe coming up with a different product using the single peak. So having the surfers not surf in the high number from the center of the lagoon on both sides, but offering a different experience where you can have a longer wave that goes from one side to the other. When we designed this, so obviously there's no machinery in the middle to enable this. The idea was the developers, the operators, they're the ones who know really where their business model is going to go. And depending on what their selling proposition to the surfers is, they may want to use the lagoon differently. We're here to enable different business models. I'm not here to tell you that you should put 80 people, 60 people, 40 people and charge 60 euro. That is actually your added value. What we're trying to do is have a technology that enables whatever you guys want to do. So the flexibility in the lagoon and the types of wave was obviously key to us. And the first weeks of operation in Munich, I think it's week 7 now, Mickey. I don't know what is exactly, you guys have been operating 16, 17 hours? 16 hours a day since you opened. And I don't know what is the split between using the lagoon on a split peak basis versus single peak basis.
3 to 4 hours single, and the rest is split.
Yeah. Okay. So 25% of the time, they're actually running the lagoon using the single peak. and 75% using the split peak. And what are the levels, for example, that you have in the single peak? All kinds of levels, or primarily very good surfers?
Well, the morning and evening sessions are more the better surfers, so advanced and expert. But we also run the single peak as intermediate, for example, and it's very, very popular.
Yeah. So that was one of the items. When we built the single peak, which is basically a long wave, the idea was this premium product, for the market to be as big as possible, has to be able to offer a wave that is good for intermediate and as good for like pro surfers. So the way you're going to use the single peak is not just something for the very few very good surfer. It's actually a premium product that can address any market. So this flexibility in operation is proving to be 7 weeks of experience, but an amazing product because it's already used for 25% of the time in Munich. Second thing, when we designed the lagoon, and I was saying that it was the greatest contribution from whitewater and its culture and landscaping. Great contribution, I must say thank you to Adam Bonvin, the owner of Alaya. Clément and I, we spent hours at Alaya. So I don't know who has been at Alaya. Nobody's been to Alaya. Ah, there you go. So when we were designing Endless Surf, we wanted to make it really compact. And we wanted to make sure that the views over the lagoon would be as close as possible to the action, because once you're looking at the action while you're at the bar, it's so mesmerizing that you're going to stay hours. So when we went to Alaya multiple times with Clément, it was amazing. We were like, this is exactly what we need to do. And that's why all around the lagoon at ES, the distances to the action are super short. The benefit of, and you don't have to take down walls to do this. The reason why we wanted this, it's because we wanted to make sure that all around the lagoon, you could build, once again, we're here to enable you, a hotel, a spa, a co-working space, cabanas, you name it, you have it. But the idea really was, how can we look at this thing from not just what happens in the lagoon, but also what happens around the lagoon, which has an amazing real estate value. And I know Sean loves numbers. So you've been to Alaya. How many have been to Munich yet? Okay. So quick math. Alaya, the lagoon is 8,400 square meters. Okay. The Munich lagoon is 7,700 square meters. So it's 10% smaller. Okay. So basically, we could nearly say it's identical. Still is a nearly 800-meter difference. At Alaya, because Sean loves to talk about capacity, they have 16 to 36 people max. Surftown Munich, it's 62 people, okay? So we have a lagoon that can host 62 people. Alaya, at best, is 36. Alaya is more than 10% bigger than Munich. So I love my friends from Spain, but when you talk about footprint efficiency, capacity efficiency, no wording, no nothing. Just go to Alaya, go to Munich in Germany. Miki will tour you. Super small and super efficient in terms of capacity and amazing views. And this is probably the best proof of concept on how we designed the lagoon to enable those amazing views. This was the event. We have nothing to do with that event. It's fully the credit of Miki and the team in Munich. They organized that opening ceremony August 10th or 11th, so on 2 days. It was just crazy because I think you hosted over the whole weekend 12, 13,000 people.
Both days it was 17, yes.
Okay, 17,000. So quite amazing. And I think the max people you had on site for like 1 hour was close to 3,000. So on that site, which is super compact, you had nearly 3,000 people. And all of them, as you can see, they were around the lagoon, on the back wall, here on the terrace. The average distance to the action is 50 meter max. When you're sitting on Wave Garden at the beach, the beginning of a wave is at least 150 meters far away from the beach. So my point here is obviously what happens in the lagoon is super important, and I think we've delivered something quite amazing. But what is even more amazing, and all of those projects that we're hearing about value a lot all the real estate around the lagoon. Around the lagoon, the real estate value that we've managed to actually create enable you guys to think of new revenue generating activities and program items that will make the investment even better. So the flexibility in what happens in the lagoon and the flexibility of what you can actually do around the lagoon is a story that you guys have to write. But I believe that the promise that we made, I think 5 years ago to the industry, which is we will enable you to make money, but design the surf park of your dreams. I believe for a first in Munich and soon in Qiddiya, we've delivered it. What's super interesting is Munich and Qiddiya, they're kind of the same model. Munich is a 34 caisson, and Qiddiya is a 32 caisson. Munich is very surf park centric, so it's the same, say, philosophy of surf park as Laya, Urban Surf, the Wave. Qiddiya is actually same lagoon, same shape, but it's part of that gigantic $75 billion project. The theming around, the activities, etc., are totally different versus what Mickey and his team put together in Germany. But at the end of the day, it's the exact same lagoon. And they're leveraging the exact same strength of the lagoon design. It's actually everything you can do all around the lagoon because it creates a lot of value. And today, Damon and you, Craig, we're talking about the maturity of the market, the newcomers that are different from the pioneers that you guys were 5 years ago. What we're seeing is a lot of, let's say, real estate proven developers. And usually, the key factor that they focus on for a lot is the size of the lagoon, the shape of the lagoon, and what you can do around the lagoon. So we've been having more and more discussions with real estate people because of the efficiency of the design. So going back to the activation of the resort due to the shape, once again, huge credit to Mickey and the team, because I think that who has seen on social any videos or photos from the event they put together? Okay, so the event was amazing, obviously, because it was amazing. The impact on social networks was great. Chris, one of the founding partners at Surftown, shared a few numbers. Mickey, can you give a few numbers on how many posts and views, etc., you had around your event?
Well, about the event, I'm not sure, but we showed something yesterday in the presentation, which was the last few months in terms of media reach. And we had an agency for that because
yes,
obviously we needed to prove it to the partners. It's close to 1 billion contacts now, which is quite crazy because we didn't invest anything in it. So yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
So we have nothing to do with this. So massive credit to Chris and the team. But once again, I think the way, and Chris and the team have a huge expertise at running events. Chris, one of the founders, has been leading a company running events across Europe for 30 years. So they put that together. They made sure that all the views, the cameras, the way they produced all the media content and really released it made a lot of sense. But for us, we were super happy because the way they activated all the 360 degrees around the lagoon was amazing. So we're pretty happy to do this. Now I'm looking at Mohamed, and I wish you can do more than 1 billion when you open up in Qiddiya. But maybe you have a few more dollars than Mickey, so you could do it. But so for us, this first in Munich is obviously a relief because it was a long journey. And thank you to Mickey and the team. We're very happy of what we've delivered versus what we were focused on. And the two really added values, flexibility in the lagoon and enabling you guys to do whatever you want to do around the lagoon, I think we've over-delivered. We have a few improvements as well, but we're pretty happy. So it's been a tough year, a fine year. Thank you, Mickey. Thank you, Mohamed, and all the other ones that are under construction. Guys, do you have any questions?
What's the biggest challenge now? What have you learned and what are you trying to do next?
So it was a first. So it was a first project. So our biggest challenge, like quite often, is going to be human. We have to scale up because in parallel we're having multiple projects that we'll have to roll out. And what we've learned is the amount of work that is needed when we commission, train, and hand over. It's actually a huge crowd from the client side. You have the maintenance team, you have the operations team, you have the operations team in the lagoon, the business team, because we have this built-in software. So it's a lot of training, maybe more than what we thought. So longer rollout times. We're talking about a few months, huh? We're not talking about amazing distances, but I think we're at the start of hiring people to roll out the technology, because the projects obviously are slow to develop, to sell, et cetera, but then the action for us on site, in addition to installing, the commissioning, training, handing over, and the support, is obviously the key activity for us, because at the end of the day, we're going to deliver this, but the face to the consumer, so to the guest in the water, will be the coach that you guys are paying. So this moment, the amount of training that this coach has is the blending of the philosophy of the operator and the best use possible of our lagoon. So it's a real integration point. So I think training is a key item. And hiring to make sure we can roll out multiple projects at a time, because that's basically what awaits us as of 25 staffing.
Are we going to developers get information from Munich on results such as like energy consumption?
So, Miki, can you get out of the room, please? So, Miki is super nice, but there are things on which he's so secretive. So, when I will share information, I will say an average of the 10 surf parks we have. So it will be blended into multiple surf parks, but primarily Germany. No, but we do have our consumption, and we do update our financial model, well, no, electricity model that we share with clients, so that we can build proper electricity assumptions. Yeah, we do monitor it to make sure that the assumptions we made in the past are actually equal or better in the real life.
What feedback have you heard on the quality of the wave from surfers surfing the lagoon?
There are two populations of surfers. So just like any lagoon, all of us have sent amazing surfers. So for us, people like Mick Fanning, Mickey Ferrari, CJ Hopgood went. Was their feedback great? Yes, their feedback was amazing. Ocean-like is probably what came the most ocean-like feeling while riding the wave. What they liked a lot was the wave DJing. So the wave DJing, quick anecdote. In Munich, this is the control tower. So this is where the operation staff sits and basically monitors what happens in the lagoon from a wave perspective. When Miki and his team had their opening event, we did it also before and since, etc. The pros that were in the water, they were on the fly asking for changes to the wave. Can you speed up that section? Can you move the air section from the beginning till the end? Blah, 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 blah. So, and Axel was basically using a talkie-walkie with the guys downstairs and updating the waves on the fly. So that excited the surfers. The fact that they could shape the waves like this. That's the 1% opinion leaders, blah, 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 that loved it. Now, I would say the chunk of us who surfed okay to poor, the comment that we had was how the takeoff was easy. So surfing a foamy, surfing a regular board, and I'm talking about the primary waves, takeoff was easy. We have an extended interval between wave. So the other comment that the average to beginner surfers were saying is there is no stress paddling into the wave, because there is anything from 14 to 30 seconds between wave. So they don't feel stressed turning around and paddling into the wave. So that's more an experience from a wading, paddling in perspective than purely wave, but that was kind of key. And then we don't run the lagoon on a set basis. We run the lagoon continuously. For that, we extend the interval per wave, which enables us to have a really consistent waves. Wave number 1 of a set isn't better than wave number 2 of a set, or wave number 3, etc. By extending the interval, what it offers is actually a stress-free environment, because you have more time to get prepared and paddle into the wave, but it also controls the current a lot better into the lagoon. We had to do this because the lagoon is so compact that it was the only super efficient way to make sure that the water level was as quiet as possible, so that the wave experience is high. So I would say how clean the water is, how unstressful it is for the core of the clients, and how the takeoff is actually easy. But maybe Mickey could. Mickey is not paid by endlesssurf. Maybe Mickey could add a comment or two. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the question to ask is on which level. Like you said, you know, there's 1% of the guys and they love the double air section and whatever you can create, you know. So, but obviously you need the intermediates. In Munich we have a lot of, let's say, core surfing, you know, from the river. Most of them are intermediate surfers. Some are good surfers. And but the bulk obviously of the shore zone as well, that the beginners are happy. And I can just tell the feedback that we get at the moment, you know, on all levels, and it's very good. Like you said, you know, the experience in the pool is quite relaxed. People have a very organized lineup, and for us this was super important that we get like good feedback on the waves on each level. This is why we took quite a couple of months for commissioning and testing to actually make sure that all the patterns are good and safe as well.
And one last comment on Shenyang. When we left the site and we're coming back to produce more waves, how many wave profiles do you already have in the machine? 24, 25? Okay, so we already have 25 waves, and that was the basic ones that we shared. That excludes all the specific waves that we made for all the professional riders, and we're coming back week of October to create more waves. So they already have something like 40 waves in portfolio. So there is nothing amazing about having 20 waves. It's actually pretty disappointing, except when you're Kelly Slater, because obviously it's a lot of waves for Kelly Slater. But for any wave that is a little bit flexible, wave technology, it's disappointing. Do you have any other questions?